Hello, welcome to our week 36 video in our Through My Bible series here at St. John's. You'd picked up just a couple of chapters from 2nd Chronicles and 2nd Kings, one in each book, and also continued through the prophetic book of Isaiah this past week, along with a bunch of chapters from Paul's first letter to the Corinthians. And I'd ask you to go back to something that we'd left off for a few weeks and continue that list of the kings of Israel and Judah. And we're actually able to complete the list of the kings of the northern kingdom of Israel as we come to Zechariah in the readings that you had this past week, who is mostly bad, Shallum, mostly bad, and then you have a series of assassinations. Menahem assassinates Shallum, and as he has a fair amount of detail attached to his reign, we're going to rate him as absolutely terrible. Pekahiah is mostly bad. He's assassinated by Pekah, who is mostly bad, and he's finally assassinated by Hoshea, the final king of Israel, who is taken prisoner by the Assyrians, and the northern kingdom is wiped out. In Judah, we have King Uzziah, the first of the kings under whom the prophet Isaiah conducts his ministry. He's rather good, as is his son Jotham, rather good, sort of good. And then you come to Ahaz, and Ahaz is mostly bad. As we'd mentioned last time, though, Ahaz, even in being a mostly bad king, is the one to whom that famous prophecy of Isaiah 7:14 is given: the virgin will conceive and give birth to a son. Then I asked you also, as you were reading through 1 Corinthians, to detail some of the difficulties in Corinth that prompted Paul's first epistle to the Corinthians. For this first one, you would have had to go back to the chapters that you read the week before, chapters 1 and 2, but you can see that there was disharmony and disunion in the congregation at Corinth, as the division in the church was based on people's loyalties towards one pastor or another. The pastors themselves weren't divided, but the people chose their favorites, and there seemed to be almost 4 different factions inside of the church, neither faction getting along with the other. Some of the Corinthians were arrogant toward others. There seems to be some sort of a hierarchy among the membership there, where those who are well-to-do or influential look down on the ones who aren't. Sexual immorality is excused and even promoted, it seems, in the Corinthian church. Paul is aghast at what is going on there, and no one seems to step in to say anything about it. And then church membership is being used as a means to get ahead in the world, and people deal with each other even inside the church only according to their worldly standing. You have members bringing lawsuits against other members, members using other members for financial gain, people holding grudges, all sorts of bad things. And so this prompts this first epistle of the Apostle Paul to the Corinthians. Well, you're going to go on in 1 Corinthians this coming week, but as you read the narrative section in the book of Isaiah, you're going to read an awful lot about King Hezekiah. So as you also read some corresponding chapters in 2nd Chronicles and 2nd Kings concerning Hezekiah's reign, I'd ask you to write a brief character study of King Hezekiah, as we have an awful lot written about him, and he's a very interesting figure in Israel's history. And then, as you go on, you see another problem that there was in the Corinthian congregation, a misunderstanding about the nature and the practice of Holy Communion. So, according to what you read this coming week, list 4 reasons that you find from 1 Corinthians that detail why we must practice close communion. God's blessings on your reading this week. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.